Marty, it's that time. It's time to release our top 10s. And we'll stay with Class 4A and get right to the rankings. And at number 1, we're going to go with Phil Bravo and those Monarch Coyotes. They returned 4 offensive linemen, and for a team that runs it 90% of the time, that's pretty important.
Yeah, what I like about Coach Bravo's Coyotes is he's returning a whole lot on the offensive line. 4 returning starters, including a couple of guys who are 270 plus.
At number 2, we're going to go with Gary Davies and those Broomfield Eagles. They're going to be very big on D, and they also returned their quarterback, Angelo Perez, who threw for 2,200 yards a season ago.
He's got, Perez at the quarterback position with a whole lot of weapons. They should be dangerous on the O. Eagles are going to be real thick. They got a big defense, and that includes Andrew McClain. This guy's a second-team All-Stater. He's all signed up to play for U.S. Army at West Point.
Forrest Wetterstrom leads Longmont. We have Doug Johnson's team at number 3. Wetterstrom, I think you can argue that he is the best dual-threat quarterback in Class 4A.
I think so, and what's nice, too, is you got a guy like that who's a multi-purpose threat. He can run, he can pass, and they're also real big up front, so they've got someone in front of them, too, to help out that offense.
We have Wheat Ridge at number 4, and you kind of get a reoccurring theme here as we look at the Class 4A. It's the usual suspects. Wheat Ridge certainly figures into the usual suspects in Class 4A. Davian Amos White coming back after missing all of last year with that knee injury.
That kid is so talented, and the big key, as Coach Call explained to us in the summertime, if he can stay healthy, he can be a superstar and an all-state prospect for sure. You talk about Wheat Ridge and usual suspects. You got a pedigree program. Coach Call has 2 state championships. They're farmer tough, so you expect them to be in the top 5.
At number 5, perhaps the most talented team, at least at the skill positions, will be Denver South. Head coach Tony Lindsay calls this the best team he has had in his 6 years at South. Of course, Philip Lindsay headlining that list, but as we talked to Coach Lindsay this summer, he said, we have the skill guys that we always seem to have, but we have the big boys up front on the offensive and defensive lines this year, so South will be a contender.
Yeah, I think that's critical for any school that's from the old Denver Prep League, is do you have big guys up front? And Coach Lindsay saying that is definitely the case.
Pine Creek, we have them at number 6, of course, state finalists from a season ago. Pine Creek loses 30 seniors off that team from last year, Marty. But listen, Todd Miller has this ball club and this program. They've developed that winning culture that we've seen with a lot of these programs that we've already talked about in 4A. We kind of believe they're going to reload.
Yeah, they've always got the ability to reload because they have so much resources. And those kids line up in those green jerseys and they pop people. They will be tough and they will reload. We expect that to be the case.
Next up on our list at number 7, Greeley West. And it's a football team that has a lot coming back. It's a football program, Marty, that's dealing with a tragedy here in this offseason.
Coach Rogie lost his son, and certainly those guys are going to be fired up because we know the culture there with Coach Rogie. He is an icon within that community. So I think the guys might be fired up and do something very special for that Spartans community. Lines are intact up front. That's a theme with me. So they're going to have some big boys, and they got a whole bunch of the run game. I think 90% of the run game is returning, too.
Yeah, David Eddy back for his senior season. Windsor at number 8. Hey, they're a newcomer. All they did last year in 3A, though, was win a state championship.
Coach Chris Jones, he's got something going up there with the Windsor Wizards. Joey O'Connor, he's gone. He's going to play Ohio State football for the Big Ten. But they still have a couple of guys returning. Look out for Alex Blum. He's a senior. He's 245. And then Trenton Noller, a junior, moving up, 6'3", 320. They got the biggins. That's the style of play for the Wizards. And then you got Sean Glenn over on the other side of the ball, a defensive end, attracting a lot of D1 looks.
Ponderosa comes in at number 9. Familiar name coming back in the coaching ranks there. Jamie Woodruff is back to lead the charge.
You talk about an icon in the Pondo community. Coach Woody, I mean, he's back. That's got to fire up the Mustangs community without a doubt. They've got a good offensive line, good running backs, and hey, remember Coach Woody? He collected their 5A state championship back in 2003, so that's going to fire up, I think, people down there in the Pondo community.
And rounding out the top 10 here in our preseason 4A poll, we're going to go with Pueblo West. We're going to show West a little bit of love. Monty Pinkerton's team returns 18 starters from last year. They went 4-6 in the regular season last year. They end up going to the playoffs. So it's a ball club, despite the fact that they had a down year and a win total. it's a ball club, Marty, that has playoff experience. You add that to the 18 starters returning, we think they're going to be pretty good.
And they've gone to the finals within this decade. Like them, too, Coach Pink always have that tough squad, too. They play nasty football. They don't throw it around a lot. They just come up and pop you, knuckle-cracking kind of stuff there. And the way they play, they've got a good offensive line for sure. Returning 18 starters, and that includes All-State running back Derek Jackson. And they've got Diego Rojas along the line of scrimmage, a 3-year stud who's definitely a prospect for being an All-Stater.
All right, to Class 5A. And Marty, we've been doing this for 6 consecutive years, and at least the last 3 or 4 years, you look at number 1, it was always Dave Logan and those Mullen Mustangs. It was a pretty easy preseason decision. A lot of these decisions aren't. As we go into 2012, this really is a toss-up. There's an argument to be made for 3 or 4 teams to be number 1 in Class 5A. So, who did we go with number 1 in our preseason poll? Valor Christian, the Eagles, 3-time defending state champs at 3A, in the past 2 years at 4A, and moved to 5A this year.
It may raise a few eyebrows because they are a move up, but if you look at the program and the history that you just detailed, and the critical factor for me, and it got answered when I talked to Coach Wieselmeyer, can you reload after losing 4 of 5 starters on the offensive line? The answer is yes. 2 juniors coming up, 300 pounds plus. They're going to be stout up there again.
So at number 2, it's Columbine, and certainly Columbine, there's a case to be made for the Rebels, the defending champs in Class 5A, to have that top spot. We have Andy Lowry's team right there at number 2, certainly more than capable of going back-to-back.
And another one is, because, the Lowry system is so dependent upon the run game. Do you have the offensive linemen? Well, yes, they do. Certainly so, including John Lasella. He's on his way to play for Coach Umbry next year up at CU in Boulder. And then Bernard McDonald. Cameron McDonald, All-Stater, moves down to CSU Pueblo. There goes 2,000 yards, but the answer is you got a junior coming up, his little brother, who had 1,100 yards rushing last year and 19 touchdowns. So they've got the weapons.
And a remarkable performance in the state championship game at Invesco Field. Number 3, Pomona. Jay Madden's team loaded once again. We love their skill guys.
Yeah, when we were at that 7-on-7 tournament at Dakota Ridge High School, both of us just got really impressed. Alec Phelan, he's a 3-year starter, and he's certainly got that feeling of a senior leader, and he can throw the ball all over the place. And then Mitch Colleen at the wide receiver position, that guy will go up and get it without a doubt.
At number 4, we go to the Centennial League, and John Schultz and the Grandview Wolves. They're going to be fast, as they always seem to be, led by Tanner Gentry.
Yeah, Gentry, he's going to play at the D1 level, a guy who can play, multi-sports. And you mentioned that speed. Schultz, who's kind of a technical tactician guy. It's funny when he talks about all that speed he has. So certainly we're going to see a lot of things coming out of maybe a more diversified playbook. And they always play tough defense, those Wolves.
At number 5, the Cherry Creek Bruins, and nobody made a bigger splash in the offseason than Cherry Creek hiring Dave Logan.
Regardless of the drama, respect. You must give it to Dave Logan. He's a great coach, and he's certainly resourceful. He's going to have some new people, new looks over there. Guys you will understand and recognize will be quarterback Luke Papillion. Guy's 6'6" and about 225. He can run. He can throw over the top of anybody. He's certainly going to be dangerous.
All right, number 6. The Mullen Mustangs. I know Mullen lost a lot, but they're still Mullen. They still have linebacker Patrick Healy, and they have one of the best coaches in the state in Tom Thinnell.
Coach Thinnell's been around here. He's a fixture within the community here, the football community for sure. He knows how to design an intricate passing game. He's got a great coaching staff. You mentioned All-Stater Patrick Healy. I saw him in the summertime doing a walk-around with coaches. Healy is a beast. He is chiseled. He is fully committed.
Healy going to Air Force, by the way. Number 7, 14 starters back for John Vogt in Chaparral.
Chaparral are reloaded once again. You got Zach Guy. Remember him last year, towards the end of the year, stepped in 700 yards, 9 TDs in just 3 games, filling in for Chris Page. He's back. And then, of course, Mitch Parsons. He's going to play at CU. I saw him in the weight room this summer. He is fully committed to making himself better. He's about 6'4", about 250, and just looks real stout. And he's got that look in his eyes. Senior year, no prisoners.
We go to the Front Range League. And Horizon.
Had that nice year last year. I think things are changing with the program, and then look what they did this summer. They went to Indianapolis for the National 7-on-7 tournament and finished top 8. They got a great quarterback, and certainly when you talk about, Dustin Rivas, he's a lockdown guy. You had blue chippers out there, top recruits in the entire United States, and Rivas was locking them down. I look for good things from Coach Ibarra and those Hawks.
At number 9, we go out to the Western Slope, and the Tigers of Grand Junction. They lost the star power from last year, but they bring back the Hogs up front.
Right. Coach Owens, I mean, they've got a college caliber football program happening out there, and a big thing to watch out for them, maybe a switch up for them cosmetically as you watch them this year. The Tigers have 1,200 plus pounds of beef along the offensive line. So if they can get some skills players moving, they're going to be just fine. Defensive side of the ball, Austin Burke, watch out for him, signed up to play up at CSU.
And at number 10, listen, there's a lot of teams we could put there, but we're going to throw Thunder Ridge in there at number 10, Joe Johnson's team. They bring back a 3-year starting quarterback who's just a junior in Brody Westmoreland.
Very dangerous. When I talk to Coach Johnson, he says Westmoreland's been working on his body. He's a little bit thicker. And then the trust factor. He's going to let Brody kind of do some things and make some calls along the line of scrimmage. You got that chemistry between coach and quarterback. That's a good thing. Also, getting back to Thunder Ridge football, at least, their style of play. Coach Johnson likes to be tough, and he's got big boys up front. Like Blake Jacobs, he's 250 plus, and watch out for Sam Jones. Coach Johnson says this guy's on the rise. D1 looks are coming to him, 6'5", 265.